We're going to go ahead and get started here with Jimmie Johnson, driver of number 84, Toyota Carvana, or Carvana Toyota, I should say. I said that backwards. Jimmie, there's a lot of work to make the day.
Oh my gosh.
Tell us a little bit about those closing laps there from your seat in the race car.
I just have such a better appreciation for what many have gone through to race in. And, you know, I was so fortunate for so many years to not have to worry about getting in on speed for a variety of different reasons. And last year, you know, went well. We got in on speed, but to go through that just now and literally have it come down to the last 100 yards of the Duel, that wasn't in my playbook. And I'm glad I prepared as I did. I'm glad the team was ready. You know, we had a very fast car. Unfortunately, with the crash that took place that I was caught up in and pitting, just had us in an awkward position at the back of the field in the last car in either lane. And it's just tough to make something happen. And you know, coming through 3 and 4, there was an almost wreck again, and JJ chose one lane, I chose the middle lane, and the middle lane prevailed by the time we got to start-finish. It was just as simple as that.
All right, we'll go ahead and take a couple questions here. We're going to start up front with Kelly.
Kelly, CrandallRacer.com. Jimmie, you said it right there. You've never been through this experience. After last night and the disappointment of not qualifying on speed, what was today like and the lead-up just to get into the race? Or to the lead up going into the race?
Lead up, I mean, I started the morning feeling good about things, and we're working on our strategy. We understand what Toyota vehicles are going to do. We know how many cars are in our Duel. You know, all these elements come together in, you know, very optimistic, kind of light day. And then as I put my suit on my bus before I walked out, the weight of the situation hit me, and the butterflies started to kick up. And and once we settled in at the start of the race, I felt really good with my car. I mean, we had a really fast car and was able to drive from the back to the front, and something just ran through my mind. I'm like, it's not over. We have a pit stop. You know, we have the end of the race. Who knows what's going to happen? You know, just keep my guard up. And then sure enough, I had 2 or 3 different moments that were quite challenging that maybe put a year or 2 on me. That was I mean, I'm literally going down the back straightaway, knowing it's the white flag. I can see the 44 car in front of me. He's like 4 or 5 ahead. The 19's pulled out to help me, but he's so far back, he's not going to get to me in time. And I'm like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make the Daytona 500. I'm going to have to call all of our partners. I'm going to have to stand in the suite and shake hands during the 500 and not drive a car. Like, this is running through my mind as I'm catching him. I'm like, I've got to figure out a way. And then an almost wreck happens, and I just leave it on the floor and hope for the best, and just went the other direction than JJ's car, and it worked out.
You had Martin, as you just said, but you came on the radio multiple times pretty frantic about needing help. Were you surprised that the 43 never got back there? Because Earl was saying that they were giving him a message, but you didn't have a whole lot of help back there.
Yeah, I needed a pusher. You know, anybody does in that back lane. And, you know, it's when it comes to the end of the race, it's tough to get people to pull out or try to find a way to you. And I could have used a little help there. Didn't get it, which is fine. You know, we figured out how to do it on our own. But you know, all the best plans that you set into place before the race starts, they always seem to go out the window when the race is taking place.
Lee Spencer, CatchFence.com. I saw you, I mean, it wasn't an hour before the race, you were up doing hospitality. How do you kind of switch that on and switch that off and get into the position that you needed to be in to get into the race today?
Honestly, I've liked being busy. And the more I sit, the more I have a chance to think. And, you know, being as busy as I was today allowed me to not, you know, let the weight of the moment hit me until I was putting my suit on. So I do like to stay busy. I wasn't that way throughout my entire career, but lately, you know, in the later years, staying busy has always been good.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. A couple things. What did you? I know you went over to Yaley's car right afterwards. I'm assuming you just gave him a pat, or what did you say to him?
We still had helmets on, so I shook his hand, and you know, that was a duel. I mean, we had elbows out. I'm not sure if it was picked up, but we had some pretty good contact down the front straightaway, and just elbows out. I mean, it was like being on a short track, but we're here at Daytona, and you know, he raced as hard as he could, and I respect the effort he put out and everything that they did to try to make the race, and you know, we just cycled ahead there at the end.
That level of desperation, can you compare it to any other time you felt something close to that, or something that brings back what you felt tonight? Or is this something you've never felt before in your career?
You're so helpless in a restrictor plate environment. The car isn't necessarily handling, and your run comes from what other people do. It's not like a normal track where you have anxiety driven by other factors. So here it was just the weight of maybe missing it, and what that would feel like, what that would be like to miss the Daytona 500. So that was the weight I felt on my shoulders, and where the frantic nature came from. And when there was an opening to take, never lifted. And I at one point I hit the car in front of me pretty good, and I was like, I think I'm clear of the 44. I'm in a good position now. If I spin cars in front of me, I'm going to ruin my opportunity. So I actually had to back out, coming to the finish line, just to not spin the car out in front of me.
All right, we're going to go to Bob.
Bob Hockers, Fox Sports. What happened in the wreck with Austin, and did you think that your day was over then?
Yeah, there was a moment there where I wasn't sure who was behind us, and I thought I was going to get cleaned out. But I didn't see what started it. I know we slowed up, and there's that accordion effect, and as that happened, Austin and I touched, and we both kind of wiggled a bit, and we almost had it saved. And then there was another car ahead of Austin, who I'm not sure who it was, but then they both came across my nose. I went across the apron pretty hard, so I'm hopeful the car is still straight and it's not too tore up underneath. But that was probably the toughest impact the car made, was transitioning down onto the flat. But it drove good. Steering wheel was straight, so I think the suspension and all is fine on the car. Just a huge scare.
All right, we're going to go to Ryan McGee.
You mentioned the difference between the feeling for this or the feeling for racing for a win. How different is it then when you're invested in this, or when you're a team owner? Like you mentioned, thinking about what you thought about going down the backstretch. How different is the mindfulness when it's your deal?
Yeah, it's heavier. I feel the weight of the partnerships. From corporate partners to my partner Maury Gallagher, everybody at Legacy Motor Club. I've always had a sense of team, and have felt that I'm out there representing a team, but this just had a much different feeling of representing a lot more people on a lot deeper level.
All right, we're going to go upstairs to the press box for just a minute. Any questions in the press box? All right, we're going to come back down. We'll go to Jacob.
Jacob Seelman, Raceface Digital. Jimmie, you kind of alluded to it right off the top, but given what you had to go through to make this race, of the 21 500s now that you'll have been in, does this one mean the most, or does it mean at least something different than maybe some of the other 500s that you've been in?
Yeah, to be determined. Obviously, it depends on how the 500 goes, but I've never been through anything like this. In my first year down here, we fortunately won the pole. And so I had exposure to racing my way in then, but it was pretty stress-free after qualifying. But to fight like we did in those closing laps, I've only done that for a race win here. It's never had that level of anxiety and fight for a duel or anything else except for a proper win.
All right, we're going to go to Jenna.
Hey, Jimmie, Jennifer, congratulations.
Thank you.
You talked about that sort of panic you were feeling. I don't know what it's hypothetical because you made the race, but had you not made the race and got beat by this team that barely even got to the racetrack, like, would that have been like the most embarrassing moment of your career?
I've embarrassed myself quite a few times. I don't know. Golf cart surfing. There's a few. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't. Disappointment would have been really, really high. Embarrassment. I think we raced really well. We did a lot of things right. I was caught up in a crash. Circumstances dictate plate racing, and I think I could have hung my hat on that. We really were fast enough and raced really well tonight. I just would have been really disappointed. And I think I'm identifying with the fact that, there's a lot more riding on my performance in the car these days than when I was a full-time driver. And not only, my own personal goals, but then of being a driver, but what's going on as being a team owner and trying to help grow a race team. So there's a lot more weight on it. And I didn't, if you would have asked me that question this morning, I wouldn't have this point of view or be able to reflect on it. I had to go through this experience tonight to understand it.
All right, we're gonna go to Chris here on my right, and then Stephen here in the middle will be next.
Hey, Jimmie, congratulations. So you, in your career, have raced in the same race as J.J. Yaley a whole lot of times. But I think it's safe to say this was a pretty unique situation. Were you at all surprised by the fight he put up there to get that last spot with you?
No, not at all. I mean, JJ's a champion and has raced, his whole life. I remember watching him in sprint cars and champ cars and a lot of different things, climbing the ropes coming up. We kind of entered the sport together, and he was a Gibbs driver, and he's a champion. He knows what he's doing. He's a real racer. And when it came down to it with 3 laps to go and we're door to door, I'm like, how does this always happen in the duels? Like the 2 cars racing to get in, end up by each other, and here's JJ and JJ banging doors trying to figure it out.
Thanks, Jimmie.
Thanks.
All right, we'll go to Stephen here in the middle.
Stephen Toronto, CBS Sports. Jimmie, after qualifying last night, I had to go back and check to see if you would ever fail to qualify for a race in your NASCAR career. It had never happened in the Cup Series. It happened once in the Busch Series, and it just so happened that you didn't make the field for the season opener at Daytona here in 2000. Yeah, your answer suggests you remember that, but how low a feeling was that to have to pack up and go home?
That was really low, and I thought about it this morning when I was waking up having coffee. I hope that my reflection of it wasn't a premonition, but we were the Herzogs helped me move from off-road racing into ASA stock cars and then to Busch, and it was our first race together. There was a lot of new, and we're building a team for the future, and there were a lot of similarities with the vision then as, I'm experiencing and have now, and I went home. And I was like, man, I hope that doesn't repeat itself. I hope that doesn't happen again. So yes, I very much remember missing that race.
Thanks, Jimmie.
Yeah.
All right, one final check back upstairs with the press box.
Jimmie, Bruce Martin from Speed Sport. Toward the end of the race, JJ was behind Ross Chastain. Were you hoping to get him boxed in there and have that work to your advantage, or were you afraid that would create a draft that would make it more difficult for you as a single car?
No, I was hopeful to get up in front of the 44 if it was directly in front of him or Ross, and I was really hoping I could get in front of the 43. So that's where my eyes were focused. I just couldn't get there. It was close a couple of times, just the way the lines cycled back and forth. I physically was in a position, but there wasn't an opening to take. So that's when for those scanning me, that's when my voice probably went up a few decibels, a few octaves, trying to figure out how to get into those spots and be in more of a defensive position to make the race.
All right, we're gonna go to Danielle.
Danielle Trotta, Sirius XM. Hi, Jimmie. Reddick wins, you transfer in. I know Toyota fans were concerned last night, perhaps lack of single car speed. Does this make a statement that the Toyotas have what it takes to get it done? Are you impressed tonight for the Toyota camp for Sunday?
Yeah, I am, and obviously I'm new to it, but I remember being a competitor against them for many years, and they didn't show their strength on qualifying days. It was more in-race performance and drivability of the cars, and I think that showed again tonight. I think it's just one of the traits, or it's in the DNA of the way they approach their plate program. And now in today's world, you carry a body through all forms of tracks that we race on. So you need to build a car that's going to work everywhere. And it's our first time with it. So I think last night, we didn't perform as we wanted to. I know at the Legacy MC side, we need to do a better job. And then I think as a collective group, we need a bit more time with this new car to understand its sweet spot and get it a little better for single car qualifying. I think race time, it's quite sporty.
All right, Jimmie, thank you for spending some time
Thank
with us.
you.
Congratulations again on surviving that last lap.
Thank you.